We're back, people, and today we're going to film on the Miami Dolphins offense versus the Chiefs, and it was not a great performance for the offense, especially in the first half. They really struggled. Now, looking at this game, I know people are, I've seen Twitter, people are, losing their minds, but it's not the end of the world. I know people will create these big things, but I think when you look at it, depending on how you look at it from a micro level or a macro level, there's definitely some things optimistic to be about looking at into the future, because they are a 6-3 team. They're still leading the division, and when I get to the defense, you'll see that they played great. They're fully healthy, and when it comes to the offense, there's some things that I'm worried about in the future, and I will get through those with my concerns, especially when it comes to playing on the road. And I know there will be the narratives created that they can't beat, good teams or great teams or whatever. Personally, I don't really care about any of that. I think they've shown that they can be competitive with those teams, and all it takes is, they had some self-inflicted wounds, and all it would take is, a few plays changing for them to be quite effective to pretty much win this game. Basically, in this game, all it was the Tyreek Hill fumble. If that play doesn't happen, that's a 10 to 14 point swing. Dolphins have a very, very good chance of winning this game, and they played about as bad as you can offensively in the first half. I think the main issues for me in this game was, one, Tyreek Hill probably had his worst game in a Dolphins uniform. He had 2 drops. He had the fumble, which we'll get to. Wasn't a good game from him. He had a very negative impact on this one. But am I worried about that in the future? No. He's a great player. They have bad games from time to time, and I'm not worried about that. I think number 2, McDaniel, his play calling was probably the worst he had this season specifically. He kept calling these toss plays, screen plays on situations that just didn't make sense to me. I think Tua actually, I think, we'll get to the last drive, and that was where Tua kind of struggled. But I think for most of the game, Tua played pretty decent, but they kept taking the ball out of his hands in certain situations, and I feel like that kept the offense from getting going. And then probably the biggest issue that I'm not concerned with McDaniel's play calling for the rest of the year. There's certain things I think he can be better at, but overall he's still one of the better play callers in the league. But he had a bad game. And then I think the biggest issue this team has is on the road, pretty much anywhere that has, a hostile environment, their communication, their pre-snap penalties is the biggest issue. That's what they need to clean up. If they can clean up on that, I think they have a chance to beat anyone. You really look at it, they played a really bad game versus the Bills. It was bad, first time on the road. It looked terrible. Clearly, versus the Eagles and Chiefs, they were better prepared, but still need to be better. And they were, very competitive and had a chance to win both of those games or tie them up at the end. And that's, pretty good versus the 2 defending Super Bowl teams. But like this play right here, it's 2nd and 10, and they're running a toss play to Mostert. They just need to start running, some plays down the throats. I don't mind running some outside zone, but when it's always these tosses out of shotgun, they never work, or the behind the back play action, they need Achane back, because this is where Achane helps the team so much, because he can create so many big plays. Like Mostert does a good job on these, but they're running with them with Ahmed and Wilson, and that's just not their skill set at all. Achane really maximizes these plays, plus the reverses, and he just spreads the field so much horizontally. Like, even when he's not getting the ball, he has such a big effect on the game. I think Achane is one of those players that will really help this team after the bye. So I think after their, this bye, there's a lot of things to be optimistic about. They're still 6-3. The defense is playing great. The offense will be healthy again. I'm not super worried about how they're going to perform in the long run. It's just, one of those games where they didn't play that great, but there is some concern still to be had for the team overall. And then it didn't allow me to show the first 10 plays, and there were some plays I wanted to show with Tua throwing the ball over the middle with timing, because those were the things that were working in this game, but they just kept going away from it and weren't doing it enough. And but yeah, you'll see as throughout this video how Tua really performed. It wasn't, I think, as bad as some people think on Twitter, but it wasn't a great game either. Then the next play, after that toss play, you get 3rd and 10. So now you're in 3rd and long. You kept taking the ball out of Tua's hands. You basically get this cover two man look here, and you get one-on-one, and with a linebacker for Waddle. This linebacker's carrying him, but this safety's playing over the top. Tua throws a good pass, throws the back shoulder, perfect placement to keep it away, and they convert, but they get an illegal shift. Just a pre-snap procedural penalty. To me, I'm not even sure what it was called on. I guess someone was misaligned on the left here. Or I guess maybe they're probably saying they're both covering on the ball here. Tyreek was on the ball and Cedric was on the ball. So that was the illegal, shift, illegal formation, or they weren't set or whatever. But those types of things was what was killing the Dolphins offense early on. It's 2nd and 9. In the play before this, they ran the, behind the back sweep to Ahmed, and it gained 1 yard. For some reason, I could watch it earlier, but it wasn't allowing me to show it again, so I had to skip that play. But you get, the gist. Nothing really to break down. I just don't know why they're calling that stuff. It's just not working with these types of players on a consistent level. And then the next play is a big Tyreek Hill drop on the play action. I love when the Dolphins go play action. They get the look that they want. They kept trying to throw these, and it hits off like Tyreek's fingertips, but like that's a ball you got to bring in. That's a pretty good throw from Tua. That's a hard play to make down the field. This is cover 2 man, and the Dolphins actually had first of all, it should have been hands to the face. I'm not sure why they didn't call that on Tyreek, but this throws off the timing of his route, so he's a little bit late there, but he's so explosive he gets down there anyway. And they're playing 2-man deep, but he's able to get his separation. And the Dolphins kept trying to run this where like he, leans to the inside, basically runs a post corner, get to the outside, get these guys to cheat their inside leverage, and then have Tua throw to the outside. They did this later with Waddle as well. Didn't work, but they had the opportunity to hit this. Tyreek Hill drops it, and that's another, drive that was basically ruined from, I think, play calling on first down, and then a big missed opportunity from Tyreek on the second down. Then here's the next drive. That first play was the one to Jalen Waddle, the deep shot that I was talking about earlier, and then here they get the intentional grounding. This is a little bit on Tua, and this is also a little bit on the play calling, because I'm not even sure what this even is. Like, I don't know what the O-line's really doing. They're all just like bunched up with Robert Jones pulling, and then both these guys come in unblocked, and then Tua's rolling out to left, but no one's really getting to their spot. Like, Tyreek's getting thrown off this spot here. Smythe, basically they both run to the same area. I guess it's supposed to be like a throwback to this side of the field, but no one, like, Chiefs have a good call for it, and Tua is, falling off balance. He has no chance to really, set and get this thrown over there, and he, just tries to throw it in Mostert's direction, but they're going to call intentional grounding, and that was another, call ruined, or just drive ruined, due to interesting play calling and not great execution by the offense. Here's an example of the Dolphins hitting some, their classic, whatever it is, slants, glance, bang eights, things like that. They do this very well pretty much whenever they want. Here they get cover 1. You get, Waddle gets a good release, gets his inside leverage. You throw the ball with anticipation, hit him in stride. They did this very effectively. Every time they really tried this, it worked most of the time. And they had the Tyreek Hill drop, as we'll see later, and Tua kind of missed him a little bit. And then Waddle stumbled later on a couple of them. But for the most part, this was how they were most effective on offense, and I just don't understand sometimes when they go away from it, trying to do too many fancy things. Plus the running game, then you stop with the tosses until, A-Chain comes back and all that stuff, the sweeps, end around so much. Sometimes you just need to run the ball. Like, this was the game where you had to run the ball, down the other team's throat. You can run some outside zone, things like that, because that still worked effectively. But allow your running backs to actually make a read and get downhill, make those cutback lanes, widen them horizontally without, being predictable either. Because I think the Chiefs were really expecting that, and they just stopped it. And this was the game to do it, like I was saying in the preview video. And they just didn't do it enough and waited too long to get that going. After that Waddle play, they had another big aim breaker hitting to Tyreek Hill over the middle. That's how they were moving the ball down the field right before half. This is the drive before half, and it's not letting me show it, so we're just going to go next to the next play. But you get the gist of it, and Tyreek Hill, the fumble, the play that basically changed the game, had the most impact on this one. It's pretty, I think overall pretty a fluky type of play, not something I'm worried about the team struggling with in the future. Plus, it's just, unfortunate because it just feels like, Tyreek Hill catches the ball right here, right? But he hasn't made any football move. He hasn't taken any steps yet. And then as he gets it, the other Chiefs, the Chiefs defender, as he's pulling him backwards, has the ball, in his hand as well. And they're just fighting with it. So to me, it's tough to say, first of all, that that's even a catch. Or if it was a catch, it should have probably also been called forward progress. I just feel like there's so many things. And then also the play call. Why are we throwing this screen? 2nd and 7. We just got down the field on 2, plays thrown, air yards. Dolphins are really good at throwing the ball down the field. I just don't understand taking the ball out of Tua's hands in these situations where he's, doing well. He's cooking, and then they throw that screen. And that's the, biggest game changer. I think it was a combination of why are we even calling this? Puts Tyreek Hill in a tough spot, but he's also, don't want to see him fumble. And it's also just is that actually a fumble? There's so many things that could have changed on that specific play, and that's the real difference maker in this game. If you want to bring it down to one play, it's literally that one. Then first drive, out of half, they run the end around to Mostert. They line him up out wide. As soon as I saw him lined up out there, I'm like, oh, I know exactly what's going to happen. It was a pretty obvious play, and it ends up working, but they call holding on Connor Williams right here. To me, it's a pretty soft call. When you get a lineman one-on-one with a defensive back like this, his hands, the one that's holding is that left hand inside the chest, but that's, legal as long as he doesn't come outside the frame, which he let go when he did come outside the frame. So it's a pretty ticky-tack call. But when you run these types of plays, holding, has a higher likelihood with how people are moving, defenders and stuff like that. And this is, another play that was basically ruined a drive early on in that second half, just due to, mistakes like that. Chiefs running some cover 6 in this specific scenario, playing cover 2 to the top and quarters to the bottom. And this is what, I love when the Dolphins do this type of stuff. The play action, you get Tua in a 3-step quick drop. He gets it with his footwork. His eyes are down the field, and he's ready to just throw an in-breaker, right? But they cover it up this time. The window's not there. This guy's going to take away that window to Tyreek. But this is what you got to do. He gets time from the play action in the pocket. That sets things up very nicely. That's why you also need to be able to run the ball downhill. I just don't know why they're not doing this on a more consistent basis, because when they do this in games where they're doing this all the time, they move the ball very well. And even when the in-breakers aren't there, guess what? Tua gets through his read, sees 1, 2 not there, check it down. And since everyone's getting back to play those in-breakers, those plays like that, you get a free dump off and you gain 12 yards on first down just from checking it down. That's the type of thing that this offense needs to do more consistently and stop with the gimmicky stuff like that. I think works for certain opponents or in certain games. I'm fine with it, but in a game like this, it just wasn't the call. And hopefully McDaniel can make an adjustment. And I'm fine with doing that stuff with the H-hand back, but it needs to be still cut down for sure. This play right here, Dolphins' first scoring drive, that next drive after that one where the Cedric Wilson's scoring. They had some good plays before this, just dinking and dunking down the field. No stupid play calls, just allow Tua to get the ball out quickly, make a read. If the first read's not there, dump it off down, gain some yards, run the ball effectively. Here on 3rd and 3, they motion Berrios across, get him going into the flat, and you're just reading 6. You see 6 here, 6 widens out into the flat, you just throw it to Smythe. He sees that. He thought about possibly throwing the ball deep to Waddle, but I think he thinks 35 is going to get over the top of this, so he just takes the safe option to Smythe. Possibly had a touchdown there, but I don't mind him. It looks more wide open than it is because they're kind of reading the throw here to 81, but it definitely had a chance because this guy kind of gives up on it, but they are able to convert, and that's a good play, and they end up scoring anyway, so it's not a huge deal. Running the ball downhill, lining up, in some ISO, running some gap scheme stuff. I think Mostert's just a vertical runner, man. I feel like they keep trying to get him out on the edge, and I don't mind getting him some outside zone because of just the aiming points of things. But when you're getting him completely horizontal, it's just not working, especially when you need to rely on the crackback type stuff. Here, just let him get downhill. He does a great job of getting vertical, getting downhill, good footwork, just gaining 5 yards. Those are the things that I just want to see this offense do. Next play, they get the touchdown. They get cover 1, man-to-man, play action. Tua probably could have hit Tyreek on his first read, but I don't mind him going to the next one. I think he just wants to take the shot here to Cedric Wilson. I do like the ball placement of this, though, because he's kind of looking off this safety, gets him to open his hips. And once he sees this guy's hips open like this, I think he already made the decision, hey, I'm going back to Cedric on this throw. And once he sees the position of this DB, because this is basically the same route. They ran this deep to Tyreek. He dropped it. He put that in a good position. Then he threw the other one to Waddle, trying to get it across the guy. But since he made the right decision whether he threw it to Tyreek, but with Waddle, he wasn't able to get across this time. With Cedric not able to get that outside leverage, and this guy's playing low, he puts it towards the inside, knowing there's no safety help, and it'll just allow Cedric to make a nice adjustment, basically on a back shoulder down the field. Definitely what you want to see. These things are very nice, but the offense just needs to do this on a much more consistent level. I'm not worried about it in the future because I think the offense is still super talented. They're still, pretty much high up in the league in every category, and I think after they get healthy, they can get things going, and the defense is really what's going to, take this team up a notch. Here's the big drop at the bottom of the screen to Tyreek. I think, Tua's got to throw this more to the inside, but you got to hang on to this, in my opinion. Tua a little off here, but I feel like when Tua's usually throwing these in-breakers, it's 95% of the time he hits you right in the chest or hits you right in stride, depending on the coverage here. They're playing, cover 2 to the bottom, quarters to the tops, and I understand why he kind of puts it on the backside because I think he sees this defender right here, and if this guy gains a little more depth, and he's on the inside of Tyreek, he thinks he has a chance to make a play, so he puts it a little bit higher and behind because he knows Tyreek has enough separation to both sides that can still happen, but he's just not ain't able to hang on to it. They kind of get blessed, though, because after this, Chris Jones gets a really dumb penalty on 3rd and 20, and they're able to score a touchdown. And here's a touchdown to Mostert. This is the type of toss I don't mind running. With the motion, you have the fullback isolated, and it's not just an obvious crackback type of play. When you're in this formation, like when they see like Tua lined up in shotgun, they're running back to his side, and the receivers like lined up right here, they know what's coming. Then everyone's getting to the side. Don't mind running toss with all this lead going into it. It gets everyone to sort of either overflow or like they undercommit. It allows Mostert to work wide instantly and then stick that foot in the ground and get vertical. That's exactly what I want to see with the running game. It's a little too gimmicky with the other stuff, and it can work, and I don't mind doing it, especially versus certain looks, but clearly it wasn't working early on, and I just think they got to go away from that stuff a lot earlier. But this is definitely the way to be more effective, especially with Raheem. Achane can do the other stuff, but Raheem, that's where he's going to excel, and then you get that touchdown. This was like the second to last drive. This was another one where they had a chance to tie it, go down the field, and then some unfortunate stuff happened. 2 big plays. Before this, they converted a big 3rd down to Tyreek where he was double teamed. Next play, they get Jalen Waddle on the seam rail slide RPO on the move here. Looks how he's wide, and he's just reading the flat defender. He sees he's moving him with his eyes. Good manipulation by Tua, and then throw it back to Waddle, pick up that 1st down. These types of plays are solid. They do it very well, but it just, this drive, too many things. You'll see. Then they convert another 3rd down. They bring pressure to his hot. He knows where he's hot. He's like, boom, throw it straight to Tyreek. Basically, they're running some cover 0 where they're trying to like double, and 21 gets there too late. But Tyreek just hitting him on the slant, make things easy. Very nice, good work from Tua. But then the next play is kind of where the drive starts to fall apart. Then they decide to run a toss to Ahmed out of shotgun, and it's just number-wise, everyone sees it coming. You can see they're literally expecting it. They're blitzing to this side. 50 shoots downhill. 56 sets the edge. And this is just not Ahmed's game. He is not fast. He's quicker than he is fast. But I just don't understand getting this. Like, this just ruins the drive. You had the recipe getting down the field, and then you do this. And the next play also is kind of... But you do that on 1st down, and it puts so much more pressure on the rest of the squad. Then the defense, like Spagnuolo deserves some credit. Perfect play call. They motion out here. They bring the pressure off the side, and he just comes in unblocked. Tua's got to get rid of the ball quickly. Got to get this out. But I honestly don't know where he's supposed to go. Usually you're supposed to replace like where the blitz comes from, but like he doesn't really have the hot option over here. I guess he could throw it to 81, but this guy's sitting in the flat, and if Tua tries to throw this off his back foot, that could easily be picked. He could try to throw with anticipation on Wilson on the break, but if he's even slightly off, that ball, I've seen that ball get picked plenty of times too. So that ends up, ruining this drive. Just good play call by the defense. They're even sliding to the left here, and I think this is also on Armstead, because look, the offensive line is sliding to the left. They're able to pass this off. 95 should Eichenberg should take 95. Connor Williams takes 90, but Armstead's too late to see the 22 coming in unblocked. So it's kind of, also 98 beats both of them to the inside. But if there's no free blitzer coming here, he could have avoided this guy coming. And it was just very, very unfortunate, the combination of things that happened here. Final drive. We'll start with the 2 Raheem Mostert runs. Don't mind this at all, when they're playing soft in the box like this. Especially, I don't mind running some outside zone. I wasn't saying like you need to just do all power stuff, but when it's so much easier for Mostert to run like this, you can just go back. It's not an obvious run situation either, and they do win those obvious tosses. It just creates those big negative plays. Here, yeah, you're still running some outside zone, but it just widens the defense and allows Mostert to get downhill horizontal or vertically. He doesn't have to get horizontally right away. With those tosses, like it really doesn't allow him to get vertically instantly. He has to wait, and then if there's just instant penetration, those plays get ruined. That's why I like those types of calls better. Here it is again, they're playing too high. Don't mind running the ball at all. Basically, same exact play call. The aiming point of you can just see the mesh point of this. Look how horizontal it is, and that's just how it affects the flow, the O-line's flowing, and it just gets everyone to over pursue, and it just allows Mostert to stick his foot in the ground, get downhill, read the leverage of these blocks, and get explosive. And then after this, guess what? Mostert does not touch the ball again. The 1st and 10 basically was a throwaway down into the flat. There was some pressure. not really anywhere for Tua to go with it, but this is where things get serious. We'll get the last 3 plays. This one to Waddle at the top. Waddle takes an outside release. They try to throw the in-breaker to Waddle, and it's the anticipation timing route, and he's just falling. He fell off balance. Kind of hard to blame Tua for this one. This is why this drive for Tua is pretty weird, because he didn't, it was 2 big Mostert runs, so it didn't have anything to do with those plays. The first play was just kind of a throwaway. That's just fine. Second play, I don't know. I guess Waddle kind of has to take an outside release with the inside leverage, but you're not really supposed to. And then just he falls off a little bit. Guy gets a little bit of a grab, nothing too major. And then that kind of takes away another down. Super hard to, really blame anyone for that. But those things happen. Here's the big play, the one to Cedric Wilson, the clear miscommunication. They bring all-out pressure. And it's definitely just, if you want to blame Tua for saying, like I do understand both of their thought processes here, because Tua's thinking it's 3rd and 10. Look at this guy's leverage. He's playing inside. And I understand Cedric saying, he's sitting hard on his feet. I'm just going to go deep over the top. But he's throwing the ball. He threw the ball way before Cedric even got past this guy at all. So it's not that, people trying to say that's an underthrow is absolutely ridiculous. I do kind of agree that, the ball shot should have gone over the top just based on what the DB was doing. But I think from what they say in the press conference, Cedric was supposed to go out this way, or, it is kind of a weird ball, even if it is like a comeback or a, back shoulder fade. Still think the ball was, a little bit short no matter what. But it's just one of those things. Miscommunications on the road has been a big problem for this team. And, Cedric hasn't had a lot of playing time. And Cedric played, in a pretty good game, having that touchdown. And that's just one of those things that's very unfortunate. I think if there's any play to really blame Tua on, it's probably the last one. Last play that we're going to look at, nothing really to break down. It's just the snap that goes, off the wire. We'll look at the play on the back end. If he does catch it and get back in space, he probably throws the ball to Waddle. Waddle has a chance over the middle to be hit. I don't really know who else he could even throw this to. I guess Tyreek, or maybe just throw it up here. But Waddle was clearly open and probably the best option. We'll look at this from the back end to see how the snap is. So it's definitely off and outside the frame to the right here. And I think the thing is Tua's trying to already take that step back and get away from the pressure. So he takes off his concentration. So this is Tua definitely has to catch this. But I guess this isn't at least not your typical quarterback play. It wasn't like he made a bad read, bad decision, and lost. This is just a heartbreaking one. Also, it's not a good snap from Connor, but it's also very, very catchable, and Tua should have caught it. It was a little hot too, and then that's how you lose. Just unfortunate. So many things they could have done differently. I don't care about the narratives at all. That stuff is always stupid to me. Wait until the whole season plays out. The Dolphins are still 6-3. I think, this is the turning point in the season after the bye. What does the team respond? How do they respond? I still, believe in them, and McDaniel, they'll definitely be fine. He's done a great job. I know I've seen people try to say, McDaniels doesn't take it serious. I guarantee you he takes it seriously. Just because he makes some jokes in a press conference does not mean he doesn't take it serious. And the team is going to have to respond here after the bye. After the bye, this is where it is. It's you're either going to be, a solid team that, makes the playoffs barely, or you're going to be a team that, wins a division, has a pretty good spot, and has a chance to make some noise. And I think they could go really either way. Just depends on what the team wants or not, because they're definitely talented enough to compete with everyone. So if you guys enjoyed the video, make sure to comment, subscribe. We'll see you guys next time. Peace.